Welcome back to Double Speak, the channel where truth cuts through the noise. Today, we're breaking down powerful words from Democratic oversight leaders like Jasmine Crockett as they demand action, transparency, and justice in the Epstein case. Make sure you subscribe, like, and hit the bell, because this is information they don't want you to hear. We are having this conversation today because of Democratic oversight leadership. They refuse to walk away. They refuse to let this case stay buried. Even when Congress was sent home early to avoid a vote on releasing Epstein-related files, they kept fighting for transparency. Their message? We don't care who's in those files. We're going after the truth. During the hearing, we heard stories from victims, including one brave survivor who spoke publicly for the first time ever.
Thank you so much. And first of all, let me just say that we are standing before you. We're having this conversation because of the oversight Democratic leadership. And so I want to reiterate that it's the Democratic leadership on oversight that has truly been able to move this forward. I'm sure many of you don't recall, but we were sent home early to try to avoid being able to take a vote on something like getting these files. We are about doing real transparency. We don't care who's in the files. We are going after you. So if I had to sum up what happened today, we heard the stories of victims, and honestly, we heard the story of at least one person that has never come forward before today. This was the very first time that she was telling anyone in a semi-public way her story. And if I had to summarize the theme, I would say that their theme was to do something. It is probably the theme of the American people in general right now when it comes to government, is that they want us to do something. So yes, we have the roundtable, but they actually want to see some action. The fact that this started off in the 90s, and we had someone who could talk about what happened to them in the 90s. But then you go down the line and you've got somebody that's telling us their story from 2008. These failures led to years and years of abuse that did not have to take place. And so the reality is this. Some think that this is all over and some think that nothing else is going on. But if there was ever a RICO case, it would have been the Epstein case. So how we went from something that should have been RICO because of how sophisticated of a system this was, and this wasn't just one little sick old man that was doing stuff, but there were so many layers, whether we're talking about the banks that were involved, whether we're talking about those that worked for him, that helped him, whether we're talking about the monster known as Maxwell, and that's exactly how y'all need to refer to her.
Their message is clear and heartbreaking. Do something. This abuse started in the 1990s, continued through 2008, and still echoes today, all because systems failed to protect them. If there was ever a RICO case, this was it. Epstein wasn't alone. Banks were involved. Employees helped him. Institutions looked the other way. And Ghislaine Maxwell, the monster, as Jasmine Crockett called her, was at the center of it. Maxwell isn't a victim. She was convicted by a jury, sentenced to 20 years, and yet, somehow, she was quietly transferred from Florida to Texas. Why? Who approved it? Why protect her? Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett demanded answers. Why was Maxwell moved? Why isn't she in a higher security facility? Who is running cover for a convicted criminal?
She is a monster. She is not a victim. So let me tell you, I want some action items to come out of this because for once we somewhat look like we're bipartisan in the Oversight Committee. Number one, we need answers. We need answers on why it is that Maxwell was transferred from her current station or her former station in Florida down to Texas. We need to have an understanding because everything that I heard today leads me to know that for sure she was all up and in and through this entire process, not to mention that she was indicted by a jury of her peers and then she was tried and convicted and given 20 years. So why is it that we had somebody, again, it almost seems like we are doomed to repeat our failures, because why is it we have high-level people that seemingly are running cover for a criminal? And that is what she is. She is a monster and she is a criminal. So number one, we need answers on what happened with that transfer, why it took place. And honestly, we all need to stand together and say that Maxwell needs to go back to where the monsters go, which is to a higher level of security.
Meanwhile, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is pushing legislation to close loopholes in the Crime Victims Act. After prosecutors like Alex Acosta dismissed cases without even notifying victims, which is illegal. This fight is about making sure another Epstein never happens again.
We also need to understand that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has legislation that she has been trying to push forward. And so in a bipartisan way, we all need to get behind Debbie, because we found, and what we learned is that there were loopholes as it relates to the Crime Victims Act. And so we've got to make sure that no other victims suffer in the way that they did when you have somebody like Alex Acosta that decides that he wants to play games and dismiss a case and never inform the victims of what's going on as is required by law. So we are going to have to fix those loopholes to make sure that that doesn't happen, because it took them 10 years of fighting this, and ultimately by the time they got to the end of it, well, it also was Jeffrey Epstein's end, and so there was not a resolution for that. And the final thing that I think that we need to do is, obviously, we need to continue to push forward and make sure that we get all the files, because we know that we have not received them all. Because I am standing in front of the press, I'm also going to make a plea. One of the things that I realized was that there's a lot of stuff that the DOJ may have, but honestly, if you don't have a thorough investigation, and I can't say if we had a thorough investigation or not, we have no idea. But the reality is that when you have investigators that go out and they collect information. I am not necessarily convinced that they even have gone out and done their due diligence to fully investigate this case in the first place. So if there's anyone in the public that believes that you have information that would be valuable, you've never been able to get through to federal agencies, or no one would listen to you when you try to go forward and bring information forward, I am asking that you trust Oversight Dems and you bring that information to us. Or if you know where some information is contained, let us know so that we can then send subpoenas out that way. We want to do right not only by those that have already suffered under Epstein, but we want to prevent other trafficking rings that we know are out there. We want to make sure that we are doing right for future generations. So with that, I now have the honor of presenting to you the firecracker out of New Mexico.
Oversight leaders are asking you, the public, to step forward. If you have information that federal agencies ignored or refused to hear, bring it to Oversight Democrats. They will subpoena. They will investigate. They will act. This is about justice for survivors and stopping the next trafficking ring before it starts. Thank you for watching Doublespeak. The Epstein case is far from over, and leaders like Jasmine Crockett are making sure it doesn't get buried again. If you believe in truth, accountability, and protecting future generations, subscribe, like this video, drop a comment, and share it. This is Doublespeak, where we speak truth to power. Stay informed, stay vocal, and I'll see you in the next one.